All right, so our first review of the day is going to be for the film Mean Girls, and no, not the 2004 Mean Girls. We already did that. We did that. I did that with Nick. We did a retro review for that. That should be up on the channel real soon. The 2004 Mean Girls review, and it was fun going back and watching it, going back and reviewing it. Classic high school film, still quotable today. A lot of people still quote it. Even October 3rd, as you mentioned in the review, is unofficially like Mean Girls Day, like 'cause that gets October 3rd gets referenced in the movie. But yeah, going back and looking at this, 20 years old now. That this movie is. And a lot of movies, actually, a lot of movies are hitting their 20th anniversary, like Incredibles, and Shrek 2, and Spider
Oh
Man.
yeah.
There's like a big list that dropped of a bunch of movies that are hitting their 20th anniversary this year. Yeah, we're getting fucking old, man. It's that time. Yeah, all these movies that we were when we were kids, like now it's hitting its 20-year anniversary. It's crazy, but yeah, this movie here, yeah, Mean Girls, yeah. 20 years ago this came out. Classic film. Probably one of the best high school films ever. Like I said, still insanely quotable today, and now they're coming back with a new version of Mean Girls. And this is not really a remake, it's more of an adaptation because this is an adaptation of the Broadway musical that was Mean Girls. That was an adaptation of the movie Mean Girls, which was an adaptation of the nonfiction book that was written. So if you can follow that timeline there, it's very much similar to what happened just recently with The Color Purple. Very, very much similar to that kind of that came out recently. And I'm going to be making some comparisons to actually The Color Purple. Because both are somewhat musicals, both have a similar kind of adaptation journey, and just to see how where both if it both enhances the material to see it as a musical. So I'm going to be making a little bit of comparisons there, but so yeah. So if you've never seen the film Mean Girls before, basically it keeps the same plot, doesn't really deviate from the plot if you remember the original, but just in case if you haven't. So it deals with this girl named Sadie, who's Angry Rice is her name. People might have seen her before. She was in the film The Nice Guys. She was like a little girl back then when she was in The Nice Guys. But she was in that film, and she plays Katie, who comes from Kenya here, and she's finally being brought into high school. Her first chance really interacting with other students because for most of her life she was homeschooled, and she encounters high school drama, mean girls, bully kind of characters. Trying to first experience of tasting that high school life and what that's like. Amongst her journey of kind of meeting everybody in school, she meets these two students who she kind of forms a connection with, Damien and Janice, who kind of show her around and guide her and show her all the different cliques that happen in the school, and also introduces her to the Plastics, which are headed up again by Regina George, who's played by Renee Rapp in this. Renee Rapp, who's also there are some people who in this movie is also from the Broadway musical, Renee Rapp being one of them. She's continuing her performance as Regina George. You also have Karen in this, and you also have Gretchen, who form the rest of the Plastics there. And she kind of, integrates with the group, and then also forms a crush on a boy, and how that kind of conflicts with one of the Regina, and obviously that was her ex boyfriend. So it's about a lot of the trials and tribulations of high school there, played up in a very over exaggerated manner that you kind of see sometimes in a lot of high school movies. And while we were talking about the Mean Girls, me and Nick, the 2004 version of it, of how much the influence of the movie had on, the mean high school movies afterwards, and we mentioned things like Booksmart, which came out about 5 or so years ago, I believe. Yeah, that movie came out, which was very good, like something like Booksmart.
Booksmart
Even
is very underrated.
very nice movie. I like that quite a bit. You see its influence on that. You also see the influence of something like Mean Girls on the movie Bottoms, which came out last year, which I really like
Mhm.
Bottoms a lot. Bottoms was on my best of list. I think
Even movies like Easy A.
Easy A, which with Emma Stone, which is also another one. So definitely much see its influence there still played out in a lot of high school movies. I think it's probably this generation for millennials and for Gen Z people, probably their Heathers in a way. Mean Girls is.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it.
Yeah, I would say it's kind of their Heathers. Now, you may say, like with this, movie 2024, Mean Girls, it being a musical, which I guess apparently somebody didn't know that this was. Apparently, I saw a tweet where, I mean, there were some reactions in theaters where people seemed to be confused that they didn't know it was going to be a musical, which I didn't
Mhm.
understand because all the marketing shows singing. Like you look at this trailer, like it's all people singing, dancing, which I don't know how it wasn't.
They they usually had most of I looked at it only really came down to like the final trailer that they really started going really in on the fact that it was a wholly musical thing.
Mm,
But the other trailers beforehand were had music in the background, but kind of focused more on the plot part. But I was just checking on the final trailer just because I was curious, and I did notice that it was only on that one that they really start to really focus more on the this is a musical, guys, get ready.
mm, okay, interesting. Because I guess some people weren't under the impression that this was a
Yeah,
musical.
and I can see that too, especially on how some of the way the early trailers are cut and the way that music is incorporated. A lot of trailers nowadays, like that was the same thing with The Color Purple. A lot of people were like, wait, this is a musical?
Mm, interesting.
Because especially with The Color Purple, that one was really not especially cut in a way that people thought it was a musical. And so when that caught people by surprise. But this one, it was a little bit more all right, but especially when we get to like that part in the final trailer where it's like, okay, now come on, it's basically kind of telling you it's a musical, but they
Yeah.
really don't have any of the songs that are in the trailer, just certain moments in it and some of the music.
Mm. Yeah. So it's interesting. So I guess a
Hmm.
lot of people, some people, I guess, weren't expecting it to be a musical, but so that's kind of interesting there. So I don't know how much effort there was in the campaign there to make it a music. And hello there, 47 cartoon guy. Thank you
Hmm.
very much. Thanks for showing up. But yeah, I guess there wasn't really, I guess, a lot of effort there. I guess maybe in the marketing. I thought for me, and look at the trailers I saw, it looked pretty clear that it was a
Hmm.
musical, but I guess for some people it wasn't. But yeah, so with this, and mention the color purple, like I said, going to bring that up in the review. And The Color Purple also had a similar adaptation journey, right? Musical film, adaptation of the Broadway musical, which is adaptation of the film, which is adaptation of a book, had kind of a similar journey there. And it's funny that I don't think ever like people would have thought The Color Purple and Mean Girls would be in the same sentence. But um and I think with this being a musical, it enhanced the viewing experience, at least for me, I think, with this movie. And it made it something like, wow, okay. And, maybe it's because I hadn't seen the original film at the time when I saw this and I watched it afterwards. Maybe that is the reason why I had that kind of reaction to it. But also, I think that the performances in The Color Purple, especially when they do the musical sequences, performances from like Taraji P. Henson and Danielle Brooks and Fantasia, who really, I think, for me, just blew me away what they did there with a lot of the performances and their singing. That really kind of made it really stand out and made it feel like an
Hmm.
enhanced experience from just watching The Color Purple again. And I think from the way the musicals are kind of shown in that, it's like a lot of it is from the perspective of Celie, who's the main character of The Color Purple, who in the movie is very meek and quiet and reserved and just beaten down by life. I mean, she's lived such a downtrodden life
Hmm.
that when she actually does have these moments of going into these kind of musical dream sequence type areas, it's like you feel like it's a way of her expressing herself when she can't, much in this kind of harsh world. So it kind of feels like it has more of a purpose here. In Mean Girls, with the movie, it just doesn't feel like it really enhances the experience of the film, and it
Hmm.
doesn't really build upon anything that the '04 version did very much, other than, hey, look, we're doing some music sequences in this movie now.
Right.
And like I said, going back and watching the Mean Girls again, that's not Mean Girls, sorry about that. Going back and watching Mean Girls again, the '04 version, it's like, man, it was a smartly written movie. You can understand why it's stood the test of time, where people can continuously continue to quote it and reference it, and everything like that, because it is so sharp and is so funny. And what they
Hmm.
kind of add with these musical sequences is like, okay. And the songs in here are not very memorable. They kind of feel like a lot of D list pop songs in a way. And the person who directed this is their first feature film, and they're mostly have done like music videos and stuff. And when you see when they do the musical performance,
You
it
can
does
definitely get that vibe.
you get that it does feel like, yeah, like a music video type thing when they do the musical scenes. But Dust, let me get you in here. What are your thoughts on Mean Girls 2024?
Uh, yeah, I'm kind of right there with you. A lot of this feels like interconnected music videos, interconnected to just sort of mostly a retelling of the original Mean Girls. I will give a lot of credit to a lot of the actors. I think they do a pretty solid job with the material. I think the two leads, Angry Rice and Renee Rapp, I think they do a pretty good job. It can't be easy for Angry's Rice to kind of step into the shoes that Lindsay Lohan did, who she just did such a strong performance in that first one that people are still quoting her, still like still some consider like that's my Katie. You know what I mean? It can't be easy to her to step on that role, but I think she does a good job in that role. She plays a very good at first, kind of mousy. I'm trying to kind of figure out things. I don't know what to do, and kind of shy, and eventually kind of stepping into her own pace. And Renee Rapp, I think she does a really strong job actually, just being this quote unquote mean girl as a Regina. Is she as good as the original? She kind of plays it slightly different, but I think she captures a lot of that just snippy and mean spiritedness that is there. Unfortunately, these performances and from other side characters played, especially like her friends, like Janice and Damien, who they get little moments here and there, and I like them when they are. Aside from that, I think everyone's pretty strong, but I'm with you. It really just feels like I've already seen this movie, and then here's a song, and it goes right at you. Well, at least in The Color Purple, you could say, all right, these are visually at least interesting. They kind of just blend in to go a little more stranger, as if you can see it's in her imagination. In this, it just feels like, and time for a musical, and time for music.
Mm, yeah. Yeah, that's just the way it kind of feels like. It's like, yeah, like musical part here, musical part there, just to because we have to add in these scenes because we can't be a musical without adding
Right.
in musical parts here. And when they do the music, I mean, some song, the only song I really kind of somewhat enjoyed was the Halloween song, which is done by the Karen, her character.
Hmm.
And I thought that was pretty fun and pretty well done. But everything else I thought was, yeah, pretty forgettable. So it's not even really that entertaining. I don't think in a musical level. I don't maybe younger people maybe would enjoy it or like it better. Like I said, very feels very kind of like pop
Hmm.
music video and not even really good pop music all that much with it. And this movie, it's about 2 hours, but everything kind of feels so condensed. Everything
Yeah.
feels like a lot of the plot stuff and everything kinda just feels so kinda quick and fast, and it's like, "Oh, we're already at the end here already."
Yeah.
And I felt like that kinda was kinda throwing me off, there, even though the movie is about 2 hours long. But yeah, the best stuff kind of about it is the stuff that you remember from '04 version, the
Hmm.
quotes and the things that they do, the humorous moments there. It's like all that stuff just comes from the original version.
Yeah.
And half the time watching it is like, yeah, I kind of would rather be watching the original again.
Yeah.
For that. But what's your opinion there?
No, again, I'm right there with you. You could have watched the original, would have been a less time sink, and you would have gotten pretty much the same out of it. The novelty of it being a musical, along with the new performances, are nice. And I will say, a lot of the they do not really show it shy in showing them being very attractive and showing them just kind of in some scenes just letting it all hang out. You're like, oh wow, okay. And and there's also some small changes in the movie, like very minor changes from some of the original. Besides that, yeah, I never really felt a reason why that would be a replacement or at least a different version of the original. It never
Mm,
felt like it did anything better, if you know what I mean.
yeah. Yeah, like you said, with The Color Purple, with this movie, I felt that way kinda because like, some of the things I said, it enhanced what the movie was doing and kinda added something to it a little bit different. For a movie being so sad as it is, like, the musical sequence kind of give a sense of kind of, like, inspiration and inspirational, kind of feeling
Hmm.
to it, hopefulness to it, and, like, such this, kind of sad, downtrodden type movie here. So it kinda does do that, and like I said, adding these kind of fantastical kind of sequences, like we always mentioned with The Color Purple, the scene where she's dancing on the record, which was really
Hmm.
good, and, like, this whole sequence here, the roaring
Oh
kind of
yeah,
20s look.
the Roaring Twenties.
So I feel like it kinda does do something there to it of like, "Hey, I'm just not seeing The Color Purple over again," you know what I mean? I think it
Yeah.
does add a more interesting experience, but with 2024 Mean Girls, it doesn't really other than like, "Hey, I'm" kind of the best thing is like, "Hey, I'm just seeing the original movie, but kind of a weaker version of it, but with added musical sequences on there." And then you have the characters who are playing, Katie and playing Regina and playing Damien and Janice and the plastics, other plastics, Karen and Gretchen, and they do a fine job. Everybody's fine
Mhm,
in it. I don't think no one to me like really stands above, you know what I mean,
mhm,
that too much. Other than that, it's like okay. I mean, they're everybody's just fine. And yeah, I mean, that's just overall the feeling of this movie is like, it's just okay,
mhm.
it's just fine. They do add something new with, like, kinda more of, like, the technology aspect, like, people on
Yeah,
TikTok,
TikTok and all that.
they do add that there, which I wish kinda they more added more of an updated element there of, like, "Hey, it's 2024 now," or, "Now it's 2020s where TikTok is a big thing, social media is a big thing." I wish they kinda maybe lean more into that stuff to make it different
Mhm,
from the original, what the original was doing, and how that impacts people more now is a lot of the technology stuff and social media. Um but yeah, that's kinda it really with this movie. It's kinda like, okay, it's just a lesser version of the old 4 movie, and you think about, who is this for? Who's gonna
right.
really get the most out of this? And I think mostly Gen Z people, if that's who you're really marketing to, or if you're marketing
Right.
mostly millennials who have nostalgia for '04 Mean Girls, it's like,
Mm,
okay, if that's your really audience and crowd and get people kinda pumped up to go see it, I don't really think it really gives them any real thing there for them to
I
really
mean,
latch on to.
I think it also, at least from what I can see from a lot of the comments or people surrounding this movie, I mean, there's been a lot of at least excitement within the people who are interested in, especially a lot of theater kids.
Okay.
Apparently, this has been like this musical has at least been very well liked by them and a lot of that group. So I think in combination with the nostalgia from the original movie, with also people who are really into theater and musicals in general, this might be really something that they also could latch onto or at least like and at least give a different version than watching the same movie again.
Mm, yeah. So what'll be your, rating for Mean Girls?
Uh Yeah, like you said, I don't think this movie does anything terribly. I think it does everything fairly well, and I think all the acting is fairly well. It just when it comes to those musical elements, it really does feel like a insert musical moment here, insert musical video here, and then move on, stapled together by plot. And the pacing is so quick that by the time it gets there, you're like, oh, it's already over. Oh, okay. Um, so kind of with all that said, I'm gonna go with a high stream it.
Mm,
Because there is definitely enough there where if you went and you saw it at a really low, like a low tune in, I could see that. But yeah, I could easily just people seeing this at home, hanging out, or maybe get some of your friends over and you roll into this, and you could watch this in the comfort of your home, and I think you'd be just fine.
yeah. Yeah, I kinda right there with I give it kinda more of a lowish stream it for
That's
me,
fair.
with this. Maybe it's because like I said, I just seen the '04 version, we just did a
Sure.
review of it, and how kinda classic this movie is here, and a lot of things that they did, how smart, kind of smartly written it was, and a lot of performances. Like you said, Renee Rapp, I mean, she does decent as Regina, but Rachel McAdams, I mean, just
Yeah.
killed it. I mean, she just really, really
Yeah.
killed it here. With a lot of stuff she did and the way she was so cutting and sharp and just it could just tear you down, I mean, I think it was really good here. Um, but yeah, so maybe it's kinda maybe that has something to do with it, but I I don't think it's terrible, this 2024 Mean Girls. I
Hmm.
don't think it's awful. I just think it's just okay.
It's
That's it.
okay.
I don't think it's anything maybe you would rush out to go see. That's why I'm gonna give it a stream it. If
Right.
you have one of the '80s streaming services like Paramount Plus, you can wait for it to come there, and maybe you'll get a kick out of it. Maybe you'll do an event of it,
Right.
sitting at home and maybe doing a back-to-back feature with the '04 and 2024 version, maybe doing that. Maybe at this point, maybe you already got kids already and you can show them, both versions or something. But yeah, yeah, that's
Yeah.
it. So just a plain stream it for me,
That's
for
fair.
Mean Girls 2024. So yeah, you gave it a high stream. I gave it kind of
Yeah, pretty much. Just stream it's all around.
yeah. For Mean Girls.